the time. And certainly I can drag items to and from my task pane. Now why I'm bringing up the task pane is because if I go to my schedule menu, I see here that I have a lot of different kinds of items that I can schedule. So if I schedule a to-do, you'll notice that when I do that, a to-do is not like any other scheduled activity. It does not have a date, it does not have a time, it merely has a user, being myself, I'm the one who's scheduling it, a priority, and a reference, a general reference here. So I can say run to Kinko's. Could be a good example of a to-do. And then obviously I can have some notes here. And I hit OK, and what you'll see here is that my to-dos appear alongside everything else in my task pane, which is kind of why I wanted to explain that first. So as I schedule to-dos, and you'll notice here that a to-do is not necessarily associated with the current contact record. This is like something personal, something for me to do. I could say pick up stamps. And again, this appears alongside everything. And what's nice about to-dos is I can change the priority as is desired. You can make up your own little system, whether you want 1 to be the most important or 9 or 10 to be the most important. It's up to you. But what's nice about your little task pane here is that once I have a couple of items here, it's very easy for me to actually sort them by priority. So certainly if I had more than 1 or 2 here or 3 here, this would be a nice way to keep track of what has to be done first. Now, unlike these calls that end up here because they have no time, I can't drag that to-do onto the calendar. You see that I'm trying to do that. It won't go. So I can't drag the to-do to the calendar. So again, a call still needs to be a call. A to-do, again, is a more general sort of item. Now, what you'll notice is that unlike our calls without a time, our to-dos are really date independent. So no matter what date I'm looking at on my calendar, they're still hanging out there as something to do. Okay, let's move on to using durations in history fields. So hopefully you and maybe your employees have been completing all these great history items in GoldMine. And what we have here, when we complete any history item, well, almost any history item, excluding things like a sale, if I complete, for instance, an appointment, every history item has a little duration associated with it. And you'll see here that it's actually structured as hour, minute, and then seconds. So a typical duration could be 0045 00 to represent 45 minutes. So it kind of reads like a natural time field. And for a lot of people, that's just fine. Because when I complete this at 45 minutes, I can look back at my history and I can see the fact that I completed that item and that it did indeed take 45 minutes. But what I want to show you now is let's pretend that I'm having my sales reps complete all of these sales appointment types of items in GoldMine. And then maybe I might have like a SQL query or a crystal report running at some point on some other system which is going to list all of those sales appointments for me and generate maybe some billable time out of it. So what I want to show you is that when I actually go to look at that data outside of GoldMine, I want my ref user ID, my on date and my duration. And just to make sure, it's got to be a sales appointment. So all I'm doing here is I'm pulling out all of the sales appointments from my GoldMine history. Oops. Okay, so what I want to show you there now, what I had to do is actually had to use some wildcards there. So I'm looking at just all of my history items where the reference is like sales appointment. I should have recalled that my GoldMine reference is actually keeping other stuff in there. Okay, so let's imagine that I have a big list of these. Let's create just a few more, just so you can get a feel of the problem I'm trying to introduce here. So I have another sales appointment was completed, and we'll say this one was only 30 minutes long. Alright, so now what's nice is that I can always right click and I can output this list to Excel, right? So this is typically what you're going to end up with somewhere. Now what's difficult to do here is that I can't auto sum my duration because it's not a decimal time. It's not a decimal number. It's actually a weird kind of, well, weird to Excel. Normal for us because we can read that being hours, minutes, seconds. So it's natural for human beings to see it that way. For computers have absolutely no idea what's going on there. So what you run into is that if you want to do anything with the time you've spent on items in GoldMine, like if you just want to know how many hours did Justin spend this month on sales appointments, it's relatively difficult as it is. What I'm going to show you is a neat trick. If I actually instruct Justin when he completes his appointments, instead of using this weird format, just use a number. You can actually put in whatever you want in there. I could literally put in 1HOUR. And what I'm trying to show you is that this is actually, the duration field is just a plain text field. It doesn't care what you put in it. So in this case, what I would recommend, if you're trying to summarize time out of GoldMine history, have them use a decimal time. So if this took 1¼ hours, it's going to be 1.25, it being 1.25 hours, 1 hour and 15 minutes. Or 45 minutes would be 0.75. Hopefully you're not trying to round to any less than the nearest 15 minutes, otherwise it becomes a little weird. But at any rate, let's say this one took 1 hour and 45 minutes. And Dudley's took, so instead of his 45, it's going to be 0.75. And OK. And now I requery. And now what's nice about storing your duration like that is that now when I right click and I go to Excel, it's very, very easy for me to go ahead and select that out and auto sum. So I can easily calculate the number of hours in any given list. So that's actually a little something that I do because I actually generate my billable time out of my GoldMine history. So for any of my GoldMine clients, what I'll do is I'll complete a next action, and I'll just call it, in this case I have a couple of different items. I have service, and I have non-billable service, project service, training service, so on and so forth. I'm going to call that service, and then I just give it a duration. I have a couple of most frequently used ones in here. But certainly, don't kill yourself with this hours, minutes, seconds format. It is possible to cut that apart and do math on it, like in a crystal report. I have done that, but I'm telling you what, it's going to be 2 or 3 hours into it before you get it working just right. So just store it as a decimal. Eliminate the problem completely. Okay, so I think at this point I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up. Again, my name is Justin Hill. These were the GoldMine tips and tricks for the Marks Group for August 2011. I'm always looking for the next batch of tips and tricks, so please feel free to email me at justin@marksgroup.net, or please visit our blog at blog.marksgroup.net, or certainly www.marksgroup.net. Thanks, and have a great day.